This one is a little too hot.
Yeah, woke up to the news this morning and I'll show you the second edition of the Gleaner. And the headline says 6 more cases. You could see that quite clearly. And the father of patient O among at least 2 local transmissions as COVID starts to spread. So 4 of the new cases involve people with a travel history. The other 2 cases relate to people who had close contact with the first patient. So this pushes to 8 the number of people so far tested positive. The first 2 were people who arrived from the United Kingdom. 1 male, 58 years old, as we told you, is the father of the first patient. 1 female, 34 years old, who is a close contact, also of the first patient who was confirmed. 2 males, aged 63 and 67, who came into the island on March 7th from Trinidad, having traveled from Malaysia by way of Dubai and London. And it is said that they presented at hospital on March 11, which is 2 days ago. 1 male, 36 years old, who traveled from Manchester, England. He was taken to hospital from his hotel via ambulance 2 days ago. 1 male, 31 years old, a Jamaican overseas ship worker who came in from the Canary Islands via Portugal and Miami. Now, he arrived in the island on February 25 and presented to hospital with symptoms 3 days ago, on March 10. But interestingly, he came February 25.
Yeah.
So those are the 8 so far confirmed.
Yeah.
And then we will see what
happens.
So
my request is, in the same way we identified AA, whatever the flight was that had come in, that this flight here from London, because that's March 7, the AA came in March 4.
From Trinidad.
Yes. This one would travel from Manchester, England, that flight. So all these flights, people just need to know. And I think in the paper, they've actually identified the name of the person whose funeral.
Yeah.
The people were at, to say if you were at the funeral, go and get yourselves either checked or self-isolate.
I think it's AA 1515.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was reading, that there's, I'm not certain if it's a gentleman, I think it's a gentleman in Goshen, in
St. Elizabeth?
No, I think they said Goshen in Clarendon for some reason. That someone, they came for that person, and interestingly, the folks, they were saying now the taxi drivers will not pick up anyone in the area. One lady was on TV and she said, normally even when she's now going away, every minute the taxi man them stop to find out if she wants to go somewhere. And she said she was standing there for 2 hours and no one stopped. Yeah. So again, we don't want to panic, and I understand the apprehension. And it is easy sometimes to just sit here and say, no panic, and everything will be all right. I mean, yeah, we could say that, but I know there's apprehension.
What you're saying is the correct thing. I said to people, exercise caution, which is a different thing than panic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
So it's not like Neville is saying, don't do what you have to do.
No, man, you need
exercise
to
your caution, but panic won't help.
Yeah, and as I said yesterday, I mean, what we've been asked to do now are really things that we really should be doing from a long time. You don't want to get ridiculous and every stop, you're going to start washing your hands. But if that's what it takes,
for now,
do it. It is important.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
So, the Jamaican employees who are subject to quarantine or isolation for the COVID should not lose, I can't even believe they had to say this, lose that vacation leave entitlement during that time. And that's what Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dunstan Bryan, is suggesting to employers. Employers? Really? People are in quarantine or isolation. It's not their vacation time, and neither is it sick leave time, either. This is out of people's control. It's a pandemic, and it is what it is. So he says he's expecting employers to treat the quarantine as special leave. It is not part of vacation or part of sick leave. A contract employee is an employee, just not on a fixed term contract. Let me repeat that. A contract employee is an employee, just not on a fixed term contract.
So they should be treated the same way as the ones.
This is what he's suggesting.
The ones who are on salary type of thing.
Yeah, this is what he's suggesting. By the way, there is a concern by the JTA that following yesterday's announcement that schools are to be closed, that there are some schools that are requesting that teachers come in this morning, whether to have meetings, to assist with sanitizing the school, whatever. And he's suggesting that that probably should not happen, that the teachers should not be asked to do something like that.
All right. Let's change lanes just a bit. Mark Golden, who is the opposition spokesperson for finance, in making his contribution to the 2020 budget debate yesterday, he said that the next People's National Party government will eliminate the requirement of guarantors as a condition of students being able to borrow from the Students' Loan Bureau. He says that the caveat was discriminatory against poor students, arguing that data showed that recovery from guarantors of delinquent loans was relatively insignificant. He said that the PNP would make changes to the Student Loan Bureau loan structure to cap monthly payments at a manageable percentage of actual income. He says, and I quote, we will make borrowing a student loan to invest in their education something that students no longer need to fear. He told Dr. Clark that he welcomed the adjustment of the commencement date for repayment of student loans to 14 months after graduation, but noted that that did not go anywhere near far enough.
Yeah, it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
Because some of the students, when they're done, they can't find a job.
Yep.
And then the loan repayment is high.
So the 14 months would help.
Yes, could give them a little time. And
but
even
I
if
understand,
you just start a job, you need to
but I also understand what Mr. Golden is saying, because some of them just really can't get a guarantor.
No.
You know?
The catch-22 is how do you recover the money?
Right. If they don't have a guarantor and they don't pay it back, you don't have a...
I don't remember who recommended it. It's not my idea, so I'm not claiming it. But I think someone had suggested that try to absorb some of them into the public sector, and so that way they're working and giving back time and money to the government out of the student loan.
Yep.
So, find a catch. Give them work experience while they're paying back the loan.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about not panicking, and the Honourable Minister of Finance, Dr. Clark, has come out and says the local retail and distribution trade has given assurance that it has up to 3 months' supply of basic foods and other essentials in storage. He says the declaration comes amid rising concern about the impact of the coronavirus, which has triggered a shutdown of Jamaica's public school system and other educational institutions, and panic buying of food and sanitizing agents. Went into a couple of stores yesterday myself, and there's absolutely nothing on the shelves.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really, and I'm talking about big stores. I'm not talking about the little small shops here. Big stores. I went into a pharmacy to get something, and I got what I wanted, but I looked at a couple of the shelves and
empty.
And they're bare.
Empty.
And they're bare. And I kind of was walking out, and I turned around and says, "You guys have sanitizer?" They said, "No." And then the lady says, "But you could just go across the road to another big store." So I went. No, it was really empty.
Done.
But
Done.
Again, I think it was Delia who said earlier about the price gouging, and even the panic buying can hurt your fellow Jamaican. So if you have 47,000 at your house and your neighbor don't have none.
Look, I said it in a joke to Berger, but it's a serious thing. I say in hurricane time, or we hear a hurricane is coming, we run and buy up a heap of tin food, but even if the hurricane not come, we can't eat the tin food. What we gonna do the sanitizer them when
Sell them back
COVID done?
Sell them back again.
So be reasonable. I'm not saying you shouldn't stock up, but be reasonable. I understand that there are some places that are now limiting how much people can get, but we'll see. By the way, Canadian PM Justin Trudeau, his wife tested positive for COVID, so now they're both in isolation.
The other thing is the coach of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, tested positive. What's his name from Chelsea? Adoy, tested positive. So they've isolated the Chelsea team.
Yeah.
And they've isolated everyone who came in contact with Arteta. But as far as I know, the English League has not called it off. As far as I know, there are still games. I think I think there's a game on today. So let's see. But
them better be careful. Yeah. There's a Brazilian. The aide to the Brazilian Prime Minister apparently visited the White House, or he was in contact with President Trump, and he's tested positive. But the White House aide said President Trump will not test.
Aye, President Trump win. So, by the way, so let me finish that story with the minister. No, you didn't do anything wrong at all. Who is suggesting that there's no need to panic, that the essential stuff will be around. The second one, as we continue here, would be the parents. I think the parents are saying, yeah, they don't want to send their kids to school. Yeah. So there was a student at school because there some training sessions go on, and he sent me a message and said, "Oh, his mom says he's not going anywhere at all."
Yeah.
which is good.
I think what's going to be key, Neville, is that information sharing continues. I know yesterday we were having a discussion about, not you and I, some years about the airport and how they were processing people. And then I saw a video of a lady saying, "No, look, but we have a camera. You guys don't see it, but when the passengers pass the camera, it tests the body temperature, and if something is off, they will pull that passenger aside. So you might not see us physically talking to people, but we're monitoring people." But I think if things like that are in place, people need to know, because people are now wondering, how are we protecting each other? What's happening? So just keep sharing the information so people know what is in place and what we've been doing.
You know, the other important thing, and again, it was something that Dela said earlier about the folks on the flight. And while she was telling that story, I remember this gentleman who ran off from the
quarantine.
The quarantine.
Kemar.
Yeah, he was caught. Well, I don't know if caught is the word, but he's back.
He was retrieved.
Yeah, I don't know if caught is the word. But if you know that you were close to someone like that, you really need to go in. Because
them shouldn't even wait.
Yeah,
whichever part them they go find Kemar.
Yeah, it's not only because you are concerned about yourself, but then you ought to be concerned about members of your family. So maybe you think, boy, I can't take this quarantine thing. I mean, nobody not lock me up for 2 weeks and all kind of stuff. But brothers and sisters, if you know that you were close enough that you probably were infected or could be, it is incumbent on you to go in and just say, maybe there's nothing wrong. Just go in and say, listen, I was beside this lady and she touched me, because that will not only help you, I'm repeating myself, but it will help your family, your community, because God forbid, you don't want to go in and then all of a sudden you're everybody in your house infected and you get yourself in problems.
Yeah.
So,
you know what, Neville? This thing, it says he was discovered ill at home.
Yep.
When I read it, I thought, listen, if you have a relative who is elderly, who's a senior citizen, who may be living alone, or your neighbor, somebody in your community, check on them. If you realize you haven't seen them in a little bit, or they say they don't feel well, check on them. If you're afraid to go in at the house, stay from outside and just call out. And so you're all right, and then if they're not, get somebody to assist them, because the seniors are particularly vulnerable. Do me a big one.
Yeah. By the way, I said earlier that I didn't think the English League was called off. I think Chad was trying to tell me that they called it off today, and they did. So they said all Premier League games, EFL fixtures and matches in the FA Women's Super League and Women's Championships have been postponed. The Premier League said action will resume on April 4, subject to medical advice and conditions at the time. The Football Association also said that England's games against Italy on March 27 and Denmark 4 days later are off. Thanks, Martina. So we'll go watch some replays on the weekend. We're not going to see live stuff. All right, this birthday greeting.
So Champ's call-up was
a
good thing.
Yep.